Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Daily Easy English Talk. I'm Emma.
And I'm Jack. Thanks for joining us.
You know, sometimes you're in a conversation, right? And you kind of feel the need to change direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe things get a bit awkward, or maybe you just remembered something really important you wanted to mention.
Totally. Happens all the time.
Exactly. So how do you shift gears smoothly, without sounding rude or just stopping the flow completely?
Right.
Well, that's what we're getting into today. We're looking at changing topics politely in English.
And it's such a useful skill, honestly. Knowing just a few phrases can really give you the tools to handle those moments much better.
Yeah.
So our mission here is basically to look at 5 key expressions and figure out why they work so well for changing the subject without, messing up the vibe.
Okay, let's do it. So 5 phrases. The first one feels really casual, almost like a little side note. By the way.
Yeah.
Why is that one so effective?
By the way,
Yeah.
it's great because it signals you're shifting a bit, but it doesn't demand a connection to what was just said. It's like saying, oh, just thought of this. You could be talking about, I don't know, a tough project at work, and then say, by the way, did you catch that game last night? It doesn't cancel out the work talk. It just gently opens another door.
Right. It's kind of low-key. Doesn't disrupt things too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very low stakes.
Okay, so that's one way. What about something that actually, uses the previous topic, like speaking of?
Yes. That one's brilliant for creating a smooth link. A bridge, really.
A bridge, yeah.
Instead of jump, you're, grabbing onto a word or an idea that was just mentioned. It makes the shift feel really natural, like it's just flowing.
Even if the connection is maybe a little thin sometimes?
Even then, yeah. If someone mentions, say, traveling, you could say, speaking of travel, I was just reading about those new airline fees. See?
Gotcha. It shows you were listening and found a related point. Keeps the conversation moving along that path.
Precisely. It maintains that flow.
Okay, flow. That connects nicely to the next one, which feels more internal for the speaker. That reminds me.
Yes. This one is great because you're basically telling the other person why you're changing the topic.
You're justifying the shift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something they said sparked a memory or a thought for you. So instead of just blurting out, oh, I need milk, you link it.
Right.
Like if they mention grocery shopping, you might say, oh, that reminds me, I actually do need to pick up milk later. It explains the sudden thought.
Yeah.
Makes it less abrupt for them.
So it brings your internal thought process out a bit, making the shift logical from your side.
Yeah. Perfect for those, oh, I just remembered moments.
Okay, so we have the casual, by the way, the connecting, speaking of, and the memory link. That reminds me, what about just, anyway, feels a bit more direct.
It is, yeah. Anyway, it's definitely more of a redirect. You often use it after maybe a little side tangent, or when you want to move past something and maybe get back to the main point, or just start fresh.
Like, okay, we've talked about that enough, let's move on.
Sort of, yeah. Like after chatting about weekend plans for a minute, you might say, anyway, about that report. Or if a topic feels a bit stuck, anyway, did you hear about? It asserts a bit more control.
Right. Takes the reins a little. Needs a bit more confidence, maybe.
A little, perhaps,
Yeah.
but it's super useful for getting out of those conversational dead ends or just refocusing.
Okay, makes sense. And finally, for those really tricky spots, maybe something sensitive or just getting too heavy, the phrase, let's not get too deep into that, have you heard about?
The gentle escape hatch.
Yeah.
This one's key for, like you said, sensitive topics, or maybe something just getting really negative or going in circles. It's polite because it acknowledges the topic first.
Right. Let's not get too deep into that.
Exactly. It doesn't just ignore it, but then it clearly signals you're moving on. And crucially, you immediately offer something else, a new place for the conversation to go.
Like giving a landing spot.
Perfect analogy. So if someone's talking about, I don't know, a really bad experience and it's dragging things down, you could say, oh gosh, yeah, let's maybe not get too deep into that right now. Hey, have you heard about that new cafe that opened up?
Smooth. Redirects the energy gently.
Protects the mood,
Definitely. Wow. Okay. So having these 5 phrases in your back pocket really gives you options, doesn't it? It's not just about ending a topic, but actively guiding the conversation.
Absolutely. It's about being intentional. Knowing these nuances helps your conversations feel, well, less stuck and more dynamic. You're navigating, not just reacting.
Yeah, navigating. So think about that, how just knowing these simple ways to shift gears can change those awkward moments or tough spots into just smooth transitions. It can really alter the whole feel of how you interact with people.
It's a small thing, linguistically, but it has a big impact on the social side of things. Quite powerful, really.
Okay, now that we've sort of dissected the phrases, let's try and hear them in action, make them feel a bit more real. We've got some short dialogues we can act out and then talk about.
Great idea. Hearing them used definitely helps cement the understanding. Okay, let's set up the first one. This is just a casual chat, say, between two friends.
Okay, I can start this one. So my neighbor's been arguing loudly, like every single night. It's honestly driving me nuts.
Oh, that reminds me. Did you ever manage to fix that weird rattling noise in your apartment? The one by the window?
Okay, perfect. So the pivot phrase there was, that reminds me, my complaint about the neighbor's noise.
Right. The key word being noise.
Triggered your thought about my noise issue in my apartment.
Exactly. The word noise in your sentence sparked that memory for me. So while the topics are related both about annoying noises, the pivot shifted the focus from your neighbor's drama to your own apartment maintenance.
Yeah.
And it felt like a natural jump because, as the phrase suggests, your words genuinely triggered that specific memory related to you.
It wasn't presented as some clever, logical connection, just a personal thought that popped up. Our notes mentioned, this is why, that reminds me, feels so organic, right?
It does. It subtly validates what you said by showing it resonated personally.
Yeah.
Your mention of noise made me think of your noise problem while smoothly guiding the chat onto a slightly different but still connected path.
Okay, cool. Let's try another scenario. This one's designed to be a bit more sensitive, navigating a potentially uncomfortable topic.
Got it. I can kick this one off.
Yeah.
I'm getting really worried about the whole political situation. Things just feel so incredibly tense right now.
Yeah. It's definitely tough to watch sometimes. Look, let's maybe not get too deep into that right now. And hey, did you happen to catch that new documentary series on Netflix everyone's talking about?
Okay, textbook use there. You brought out, let's not get too deep into that. And it fits perfectly because the topic politics can easily become very heavy, very complex.
And just lead to disagreement you don't want right then.
Exactly. So by using the phrase, you first acknowledge my feeling was valid and the topic is serious. Yeah, it's tough to watch.
Right, got to do that first.
But then you gently signaled, okay, I'd rather not dive into all the complexities or potential arguments right now.
And then, crucially, I immediately offered something completely different and much lighter, a Netflix show.
Yes.
It's not just stopping the difficult chat. It's actively restarting on a new track.
Precisely. It offers both of us a polite escape route, avoiding getting bogged down or potentially clashing, and moving towards something neutral, maybe even relaxing.
It feels like you're being empathetic, but still managing the conversation's tone.
It's a really skillful way to handle sensitive ground. It shows awareness without getting trapped.
Okay, let's do another. This one involves someone complaining about work, something lots of us can probably relate to.
Yeah, definitely relatable. Okay, I'll start complaining. You won't believe it, my boss actually yelled at me again today in front of people. I don't know what I'm supposed to do anymore.
Oh, no, seriously. That's awful. I'm really sorry to hear that. That sounds incredibly rough. Hey, by the way, how's that pottery class going? You were telling me you'd signed up last week, right?
Okay. There's, by the way, making an appearance. So I'm stuck in negativity, right?
Yeah.
Complaining about the boss, feeling helpless.
Yeah.
You first show sympathy, which is key. Oh, no, that's awful. Sorry to hear that. But then you use, by the way, to pivot to something totally unrelated and ideally more positive, the pottery class.
Exactly. And the neat thing about, by the way, here is it lets me make that jump to something completely different, bad boss versus creative hobby, without needing any logical bridge. I can show support first.
You did.
And then basically say, okay, heard that. That sounds tough. Now here's a different, hopefully brighter thing I just thought of.
Using, by the way, to bring up something positive right after someone's been negative or complaining is a really good way to gently lift the conversation's energy.
Shifts the mood without directly challenging the complaint.
Exactly. It's a soft way to move away from the negativity towards something lighter without making the person feel like their problem was ignored.
Yeah, I felt like a kind, natural way to shift gears there.
Works really well for those quick topic refreshes, especially if you want to change the emotional tone.
Okay, let's shift to a work setting. Imagine we're discussing a report, maybe one with lots of data, lots of numbers.
Right. Work mode on. I'll start. Okay, so looking at this section of the quarterly report, we've got a significant amount of numerical data and several projections to review. It's pretty dense stuff.
Right. Speaking of numbers, did you get a chance to finalize the preliminary budget figures for the upcoming Team Away Day?
Okay, perfect. Speaking of numbers.
Yeah.
You explicitly latched onto a specific element. I mentioned the numbers in the report, and used that as a really clear, logical connection to your new topic, the team event budget,
Yeah.
which of course also involves numbers.
Yeah. In a work context, that feels really efficient, doesn't it? We're talking numbers here, report data, and
Yeah.
I use that link to bring up numbers over there, budget, and an ability to connect related tasks or ideas, even while shifting the immediate focus.
It demonstrates you are following the thread. Okay, numbers are on the table. And found a relevant link to transition, even though you moved from analyzing the past, the report, to planning the future, the event. It makes the shift feel productive.
And clearly tied to the overall work discussion. Very smooth for that kind of environment.
It's a great technique for steering towards a specific item on your agenda while still acknowledging the current point of discussion. Feels focused.
Definitely. Okay, one last role play. This is more of a catch-up scenario, maybe with someone who had a rough weekend.
Okay, I'll be the one with the rough weekend. So, yeah, last weekend, honestly, kind of a disaster zone. Pretty much nothing went according to plan. Just one thing after another.
Oh, man, that sounds really frustrating. Oh. Anyway, what have you got lined up for next weekend? Anything fun planned? Anything you're looking forward to?
And there we have. Anyway, you used it right after I described something negative that's already over the bad weekend. It acknowledges the negativity. Oh, man, that sounds frustrating. But avoids getting stuck digging into all the miserable details.
Exactly. I signal that I heard it wasn't great, and then, anyway, acts as the transition marker. It says essentially, okay, acknowledging that past unpleasantness, let's move forward now.
It's a gentle way to close the book on that specific negative event.
And then immediately asking about next weekend gives a clear, forward-looking direction.
Right. It shifts the focus from dwelling on a bad past experience to anticipating something potentially better in the future. A neat shift in time focus from past to future. It's a very gentle way to just keep the conversation moving along.
So yeah, these 5 phrases, they really do provide different flavors of polite pivots, don't they? Tailored for different needs, different topics, different links or lack thereof.
They absolutely do. And what really came through in our deep dive was that the power isn't just in memorizing the phrases. It's about understanding the job each one does.
The signal it sends.
Yeah, the signal it sends, the kind of bridge it builds. Knowing that helps you pick the best tool for that specific conversational moment in real time.
Right. It's about being more thoughtful and, well, empathetic in how you guide the conversation. And having these tools ready, it must help you feel more confident, right? More in control.
Oh, definitely. Knowing you have options other than just blurting out a new topic or getting stuck somewhere uncomfortable, it fundamentally changes how you feel about engaging in conversations.
You're not just a passenger anymore.
Exactly. You can actually help navigate. Knowing you can gently steer away from awkwardness or maybe introduce something you're really keen to talk about. It gives you that sense of agency we mentioned. Makes interactions feel less, I don't know, intimidating sometimes.
And the research suggested people who use these transitions well are seen as more
What?
socially skilled.
Yeah. Socially skilled, socially intelligent, often just more pleasant to talk to because the conversation flows better, feels more comfortable.
That's a pretty big payoff for mastering just a few phrases. It makes you a more active player in shaping the conversation, not just someone reacting to it.
Precisely. It's all about that polite, effective navigation of the shared space that is dialogue.
So, thinking about all this, something that really jumped out at me wasn't just about using these phrases ourselves. It was about noticing when other people use them.
Ah, that's a really interesting point, kind of flipping the perspective.
Yeah. It's not just about your pivots. Paying attention to when someone else drops a by the way, or an anyway, or a speaking of.
Yeah.
It gives you clues, doesn't it, about their strategy, maybe their state of mind.
That's fascinating. Like, are they making a casual leap with, by the way, are they consciously trying to connect to your last point with speaking of?
Or are they subtly trying to wrap things up or move on? Anyway.
Right. It becomes another layer of listening. You're not just hearing the words, but you're noticing these little structural signals about how they are navigating the conversation.
It's like conversational body language almost. Reading the subtext through these transition words. If someone keeps using anyway right up to make a point, well, maybe they're gently trying to redirect things.
Or if they frequently use speaking of, maybe they're really making an effort to show connection and build on what you say. These phrases stop being just functional and become like little indicators.
Indicators of comfort, interest, maybe a desire to change the emotional tone.
Yeah. It's not just about the mechanics of changing the topic anymore. It's about understanding these subtle currents flowing beneath the words. How people manage attention, signal relevance, express comfort or discomfort.
It really adds a whole new dimension to active listening, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're processing the content, sure, but you're also tuning into the meta conversation, the conversation about the conversation itself, signaled by these pivots.
It absolutely does. It sharpens both your ability to contribute effectively and your ability to really understand the nuances of what's happening in any interaction. It turns these everyday phrases into, well, lenses for seeing the dynamics at play. Well, that's all for this deep dive. We hope you found these tips useful.
And if you did, please do follow and subscribe to Daily Easy English Talk. Share it with anyone else you think might find it helpful too.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. We'll be back soon with another deep dive next time.